And welcome to an extra special episode of the In 90 Minutes podcast. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We are here counting down to the season start. We are just under 19 days to go. Happy Monday. Hope everybody's staying warm in Central Florida. Hope everybody's staying warm everywhere, but especially in Central Florida. I was just out at my son's soccer practice, and for those of you who saw the picture of the episode. It's like a little dumpster fire. I could have actually used that at practice today. It would have kept me nice and warm. It was one of those kinds of days. So thank you all for watching. Gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
Good, very good.
I'm doing
Everybody
all right.
excited about the season? Come on.
Cold.
Yeah. I hope the season's going to be like this for the weather. I'm going to be honest with you. If it's like this for the weather, I'm going to be buzzing.
Oh yeah, we'll give it about 6 months and we'll be back.
No, I'm not. I'm literally giving it the day of the home opener. It's going to be about 95 by the
Yeah.
time it's going to get to the home opener.
You never know. The way the weather is here, it could be like that on Saturday. It's a Saturday,
know,
right?
right?
The 21st? It's a
I think
Saturday.
Yeah,
night.
the 14th.
It's a Saturday game.
All right, cool. So just a quick reminder, if you don't already do so, and we do this all for you fans, everybody watching us, just make sure to follow, like, and subscribe to all our socials, please. Funny story for you guys. I was actually out after we did our last episode on Monday. I had an event to go to, and I'm sitting there with my wife. We're eating. We're out. It was like a company party. I'll call it that. And my wife's like, that guy at the table next to us is looking at you like weird. I'm like, what? And it took a little while, but then he looked at me. He's like, "Hey, aren't you the guy from the podcast?" I was like, "Oh, you know what?" I was like, "Yeah." So apparently his name is Pedro. So Pedro, if you're watching, shout out to you, my friend. Thank you for watching. He says he's been watching the show forever. All right. And he's a
All
longtime
right.
supporter of the show. So thank you so much for saying hello. And it's super nice to see people out there. It was just so weird because you don't expect it outside of like the stadium. Like in the stadium, you expect it. This was totally unrelated. So it was nice. It was just very coincidental. So thanks for watching, Pedro. And thank you, everybody else who watches, and we don't get to see you face to face. He said he used to watch it all the time in his living room TV, and his wife would have him turn the volume down because it was late. Anyway, so with that said, we have a lot going on. We have a lot to talk about. Some good, some not, some nerve-wracking. Most of it nerve-wracking. So, gentlemen, where do we want to begin? Plus, we have some surprises tonight, I believe.
Let's start off with our special guest, Fabian.
Yes, I'll bring him on.
Definitely. Welcome, Fabian.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome, Fabian.
Introduce yourself. Tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself. And
Yeah. What's up, everybody? My name is Fabian Rankel. You may know me as one of the annoying people that talk about Messi all the time. No, but it is a pleasure to be on. Thank you guys so much. I'm doing a podcast tour to try to kind of build up anticipation and hype for the MLS season, which I think is going to be the biggest season to date. That World Cup is in the middle of this MLS season, so soccer's just going to be on the mainstream for everybody. You're going to see Stephen A. Smith start talking about the Ojeda brothers. You're gonna see things that you've never seen before, and I think it's gonna be a blast. So I'm on a podcast tour, hopefully getting to 50 podcasts before it's all said and done. This is podcast number 3 for me, so I'm excited to be here, and thank you guys for having me on.
thank you for joining us. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Obviously Orlando City lost a lot in the off season. Right now the big thing staring us in the face is our lack of, particularly center back depth. The Stojanovic deal fell through because he got a knock in training today. What do you think that's something hopefully that will hamper them? You think they're going to try to give some of the younger guys a chance? I did see the Brazilian center back talks were back on with him as of today. So hopefully that gets across the line soon so he can get in training camp before it gets to be too late. But, kind of what do you think, what do you think might happen with that situation?
Yeah, look, honestly, I'm going to tell you guys this from around the league. everybody's main problem usually is center back depth. Like that's a league wide problem. So yes, you guys lost Schlegel this off season. We're not going to get those crazy kind of cameraman things anymore, and that's a loss for the whole league. But what I think is going to happen is either this team has look within. I think a lot of their kind of losses this off season could be addition by subtraction. I think maybe it was time to look at Orlando City and think, hey, maybe it's time for a little bit of a makeover. It's time for maybe some new blood in this squad. And I think they may look a little more unconventional for their center backs in this kind of situation. They might look within. They might go with possibly one, like you were saying, like they used to, the Brazilian. But I truly think this team should go ahead and kind of turn a new leaf and look in a way they haven't. I know they love signing their South Americans, and that's kind of like the identity. Um, but bringing in a guy like Maxime Crepeau and basically kind of going away from Gallese and going away from Muriel and these kind of the extravagant superstars, I think Orlando City needs to find a little grit. It needs to find a little bit of their spirit from their USL days, and I think they possibly need to look within for some depth here. You can't really buy center backs from other MLS teams because they don't really have depth either. I think that's kind of a hard thing to do. So either you bring in a guy from possibly a league in South America, or you try to find a guy from within, or from possibly like a younger guy who you can give a chance to. And a team that did that fairly well last year was actually San Diego, and they were a first team, right? They poached a couple guys from San Jose's academy, Verhoeven, if you know him, and they got some great minutes from some younger guys, which you totally can do around the league. It's just a little harder because at this point everybody kind of lacks depth.
Definitely, you're jabbing that thorn a little further on my side because Thomas Williams, who we sold
That's what I was going to
in the
mention.
off season, my son had a relationship with him, and got kind of close with our son, and we always rated Thomas Williams really highly, and he was kind of the next man up because he'd been in the academy, made several first team appearances. So every time he said look within, it was just like pushing the thorn. Um, a
So
little bit.
so that was going to be my question, kind of, John. Is that you say to look within, but we kind of traded a centre back to a centre back within to another MLS team. So it to the fan that doesn't have the knowledge that some of us do have connections, and it kind of doesn't look that way when we're sending our homegrown centre backs to MLS teams. So it's interesting to see where the within is going to come from, especially when we're getting rid of centre backs, which is a rare position to have. So
Yeah, Oscar Pareja is truly at a crossroad right now. I mean, if he starts the season horribly, he's out the door faster than anybody, and and that's tough because you don't want to trust a young guy now. So it's like you're gonna possibly have to kind of bring in a guy that you're thinking of, but I don't know. This Orlando City team has so many question marks going into the season that it's tough seeing this team have an identity. To be honest, I think they're going to be fighting for their life from the start, and I just think Oscar Pereja is not going to withstand this kind of bombardment from the early part of the season. So it's like, do punt the season because you're going to have to bring in an interim coach? It's a conversation to be had. I think you bring in a guy and then you basically kind of think of what can you get for on the cheap and then see if that works for the future, right?
And Fabian, this season is a historic one because it's the last season that we have with the MLS calendar, and I'm making air quotes for the benefit of those listening to us. And this is it. Is the end of the conferences? Is the end of the start in early spring, late winter, however you want to see it, and then finish in the fall. It's basically we're moving on to next year, which is going to include that mini season, and then obviously going into the international calendar. How do you see this year for every team as we wrap up that part of our history? Really, the last now that reminding everybody this is our 30th anniversary as a league. 31 seasons, but 30th year. I'm old enough to remember. I was a grown man when the league started. So, it's an achievement. A league that people were saying this is going to die in 2, 3 years, almost did in 2001. So, how do you see that transition this year and how important it's going to be for not only Orlando City, but all clubs as we wrap up this era?
I'm gonna go ahead and wrap that question back to kind of where what Luke was talking about. A lot of teams kind of know this is happening, right? A lot of teams are getting ready and building their assets like they can, or as much as they can, because after the World Cup, there's going to be so many players that are going to want to come to MLS. Now, I don't think we're going to see too many, teams kind of drop a bag to get a player before this World Cup, just because you're a little bit closer to the season now. It's not going to be you're going to be overpaying for a guy who you can possibly get on the cheaper once that World Cup is over. And I think a lot of teams are preparing for that end of the World Cup. Now, that being said, there's also another big change coming up. Like David said, it's the schedule change. And I think teams also know that. I mean, MLS teams pay a premium when it comes to transfers in this day and age because either you're buying a guy halfway through their season or you're buying a guy at an odd time. But once finally those transfer windows are going to align at a certain time and they're going to align with the other kind of bigger teams, you're not going to be paying premiums because guys are thought about as not essential as much as in the middle of the season, right? So I think Orlando could be in a way where they're kind of hoarding all this cam and hoarding all these assets to kind of maybe make a push for a guy after the World Cup. And if that's a center back, they could look within for right now because the odd reality and the true reality of MLS is you don't really have to take the first part too seriously, if that makes sense. I don't want to be too kind of brass on that, but it's the honest truth. You can kind of get hot after the second transfer window and truly make a mark in the playoffs, and then find yourself in a conference semifinal, right? And I think a lot of teams are kind of looking at that. I mean, to bring up Ibawanga possibly leaving, that's another team that may want to look to open some spots for that World Cup. And if an offer comes in now, who knows? They can just get a whole bunch of assets and then go heavy on a guy like Griezmann or things like that. So I imagine Orlando is looking at a guy like Richarlison too, where they can get some assets and possibly make a move for a guy that they are interested in, like a world superstar like that. But no, the calendar change is going to be huge. We're going to look at this calendar change as pre-calendar change MLS and after calendar change MLS. Like it's BC and before Christ and after death, right? Um, I think this is going to be so big for the league. We're gonna be matching up with the big leagues. We're gonna go toe to toe with the big dogs. Again, if you ever take a look, I know this is an MLS podcast, but if you ever take a look at the Premier League numbers of just viewers in the United States, there's so many fans of soccer here in the United States, and they're so accustomed to that calendar change already that it's going to be hard for teams not in Orlando to play in those tough months. But again, these are changes that have to happen. And I hate to say it, it sucks that it happens a little after the World Cup. I think it should have happened before the World Cup, but better late than never, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because we talked a lot last week on this show, the main show, and in our extra time show about how our club likes to, the last 3 seasons likes to start the season a little bit slow and then tries to crank it up in the summer, even though we really haven't made many transfers in the summertime. So you saying that was was kind of ironic. And then also I wanted to backtrack. We have the king of the Poppy in versus Poppy out crowd, and David here. When you say, not that we always say on the show, we want the team to do well. We don't, we're not cheering for somebody to get fired, but that's a huge controversy because obviously, Poppy holds a special place from where we were, pre 2019 to, where he took us, winning the U.S. Open Cup, and then, what was it, five playoff appearances for whatever it is.
Because last year was not playoffs, people.
We don't on this show. We don't consider the playing games playoffs. But so he holds a special place in our heart, holds a special place in the club's history. And that's a huge controversy almost every year that happens in the at least in social media realms of Orlando City, where it's it seems like you kind of have to pick a side whether you're Poppy in or Poppy out, and it can get kind of vicious at times, and David's been the king of that. He tried to stay out of it last year as much as he could, and then kind of jumped headfirst into it. So with that being said, as it stands, with our roster now, assuming everybody's healthy, because Janssen is even missing the training camp in Mexico because of a knock of an injury he has. But let's assume he gets healthy. Let's assume everything stays as is. Marin starts on the left. We get one of our younger players. It's probably going to be if we don't get it right back, it'll probably be, I'm assuming, Zachariah Taifi. Obviously he's very talented, but as it stands, do you think our roster is good enough to compete in the East that the last 2, 3, 4 seasons has been just a juggernaut?
Yeah, look, the East is tough, man. I'll be honest with you guys. The Eastern Conference is much tougher than the Western Conference, and I think that's going to stay with this season. I mean, you have teams that may look completely different this year. For example, a team like DC United may look completely different this year. A team like Montreal, where everybody thought this was one of the worst teams in the league last year, has gone out and gotten some MLS guys. I mean, they got Vera. I know this podcast probably likes to clown on this guy, but they got Aviles too. They got a whole bunch of guys over there. That's possibly going to help them, put in a better season. They still have a couple of question marks up there, but this Eastern Conference is just stacked, I think, from 1 to 10. And it's going to be tough for Orlando to kind of keep up the pace that they were all these years. I think, Orlando is a prime position to kind of get some extra help in the summer transfer window and possibly sneak into the playoffs. But I don't think this is an Orlando side of the pass where we're competing for the second or third playoff spot. I just think the top of the Eastern Conference is just too good, unfortunately.
Definitely. And the last thing I had is we've had already a couple transfers come in. Obviously, Brian Ojeda was a interleague trade. Is there anybody specifically that you have jotted down that Orlando City fans that we've brought in so far should be excited for, should see kind of a breakout, if you will, from?
Yeah, honestly, I've always been a huge fan of Crepeau. I think Crepeau is a locker room guy that can change a locker room overnight. I mean, the days where I used to cover LAFC and he was Denis Bouanga's translator. I mean, a club can easily pay for a translator, but if a player is taking their time out of their day to make sure that one of the players is heard, well spoken, that shows a lot of character. I mean, I don't really tell many people this, but I've interviewed him like 4 times, and I think we shared the same flight from it was we were in DC for the World Cup draw, and we were going down to Miami for the MLS Cup, and there's Maxine, and he's a great guy. He comes and says hello because he recognized me, and this guy again, he's a great character. He's a guy that you would want in your locker room for any MLS team. I couldn't be more ecstatic for Orlando because it could be a turning of the guard. And I think this leader, MLS vet, comes in. I think it will be it will be such a good transfer in my opinion. He has family in Florida, so this is like him basically coming home for him. And I think he wants to be here, and you want to get guys that want to be in your club. And I think this is a perfect fit for Maxine. Um, Again, I can't speak more highly of this guy. I think he's going to kill it with Orlando.
Yeah, I've got a question. When it comes to, of course, Orlando's style of play, I'm probably familiar with it by now with Pereira's style of play. Um, what do you think of the style of play that he has played before, which can probably seem a bit negative, a bit more defensive when he plays two holding midfield players? And then what do you think? Do you think it's going to change in the upcoming season with the players he has available, or do you think it's going to stay the same from last season?
Yeah, look, but it has to do something different, and I think I'm praying he tries something out with the players he has because if he does more of the same, the writing's on the wall, and the seat's going to get hot, and I think you have to be able to adjust to the team that you have at hand. And if Pareja tries to play the way he was playing before with his team lacking possibly some defensive help, I think it's going to be tough for Orlando to kind of do anything with Pareja at the helm. And if he's Pareja's, he's a good coach. I think he's able to find tactics and do something differently. And the question is, will he do that? I think he has to personally.
I think I agree with you, definitely. I think when it comes to Pereira, he's a good coach, but the question is has he reached his ceiling
Mm.
when it comes to being a coach? Like, can he take us that step farther, or this is it for him?
Yeah, he was the king of getting the most out of basically nothing, right? Even back to his Dallas days, right? So I think he has to adjust. I hate to say this, but MLS has changed a little bit, and I think MLS is constantly changing. I always make this joke on Twitter, but it's MLS 5.0. You got to find a way to adjust, or you're gonna be left in the dust, right? And I think with the amount of new ideas and how different this Eastern Conference has just changed too, I think you have to figure out some new ways. You can't have a guy for too long because then you get a guy like Peter Vermees who the status quo is not making the play or barely making the playoffs or not making the playoffs, and you get a guy who's stagnant. And I don't want to say that's Oscar Pareja, but it needs to change.
Yeah, I think definitely.
Yeah.
And also, this is an infamous question for me. And I always, if you've watched the podcast with me on it, I know I've not been on it for long. Where do you think that we should kick in the second half? Is it to the wall or away from the stands? Because this is an ongoing feud for me. That traditionally in English football, you kick towards your supporters in the second half, like your main supporters, which in this case it would be the wall. But it seems like Pereira has other ideas when it comes to that. So what do you think?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think the best thing is to kick, you know, with your home crowd cheering you on. Because if you need that last second goal, there's nothing
Yeah,
better than the wall cheering you on. I know, if I'm not mistaken, the Earthquakes do that if they can, and then the
yeah.
252 do it if they can as well. So
Well, we said me and John stand next to each other when we go to the games, and we kept on saying like, "Well, are we losing the coin toss? Are we losing a 50-50 every time, or is it or is it something else? So
You know, he might just take the chance out of the equation, right? And
yeah,
just give the opposite of whatever they get. So if it's a coin toss, maybe he's like, oh, all right, we're used to this. Let's just keep.
yeah. I just found that a little fun question because I go on about that all the time. So I'm like, oh, but
The night's ruined if when it happens. It's inevitable at this point. It's like we gave up a goal. Luke reacts as if we gave up a goal already, but the rare times that we are kicking towards the wall in the second half.
it's like I've scored a
Uh,
screamer.
yeah, it's absolute. It's absolute limbs party of one.
No, for sure. So, hey, Fabian, we wanna thank you for
Yeah,
taking the time to come to see us, but we
Yes.
can't let you go without talking about your new project. I know you're very passionate about that project, and just lead us through what it's all about and when it's gonna start kicking in.
Yeah, so this next week, so nowadays I'm with Kickbase USA. We're going ahead, we're launching something this week. So make sure you stay tuned. You go ahead and follow me or Kickbase USA. And if you're a soccer fan in the US, you're going to definitely want to know this because I'm hoping it's monumental and I'm excited to show you guys whatever we've been cooking up here in New York nowadays. But no, I'm really excited. Thank you guys so much for having me on. And I know all Orlando City fans are going to be happy when we announce what we're doing at the end of this week. So stay tuned and thank you guys for having me on.
No,
Awesome.
thank you, brother. We
yeah,
appreciate you taking the time. Fabian has been around for a while covering MLS. In fact, when I was doing the Tiro de Esquina podcast, I interviewed him at the
Yeah,
time he was in Japan, and the video is actually available in the channel here. It's in Spanish, obviously, but
man, that's crazy. That's crazy though because I do still remember
yeah,
that.
yeah, brother. It was like you were like Friday afternoon, and I was doing it like Thursday morning. It was something like that. It was because of the time difference. We
Yeah,
were a day apart. I remember that.
no,
Um,
that's
so that was crazy. But no, thank you, Fabian, and we hope that this is not the last time you join us
never.
throughout the
Yeah,
season. Hopefully, we can bring you on during special occasions like World Cup coming up,
of course.
the All Star, and things like that. So, thank you again, my friend.
No, thank you guys. Cheers.
All right, brother.
Thanks, Fabian.
Well, one of the topics that I wanted to touch before we go deep into the league, and there's that comment by our own Misael Rosa. In my opinion, Pareja is a good developmental coach, but has reached his ceiling. That's a lot of people are saying that we're on a plateau. If you ask me, it's do or die for him this season. I
Real
spoke.
quick, David, before you go on,
Yeah.
obviously Missile's not with us. We, feeling under the weather with the weather change. I'm sure like 3/4 of Florida today. So, we hope he starts feeling better.
Sorry, brother. I couldn't unmute myself. A quick thing. Yeah, by the way, I joined that sentiment. It seems like everybody's getting sick nowadays. There's as someone that is working in the healthcare industry, I can tell you there's an epidemic of influenza, better known as the flu. So take precautions. And as you know, tonight it's like frigid cold here in Florida, so that doesn't help any. No, I was I this past weekend I spoke with our good friend Sergio Ruiz, who told me that himself and our legendary and beloved lion Miguel Gallardo have survived the cuts that Apple has performed to the Spanish crew. They got rid of the for next season. There's not gonna be Spanish 360. I don't know if the English version is gonna be X as well, and also there's not gonna be the pre and post game show, which is I'm got it because Miguel was part of that crew. I learned a lot from those guys, and they are going to get rid of the French commentary for all games except for Montreal's, and they're giving up on the idea of having Portuguese commentary. And when it comes to Spanish, Most of the games are gonna be done from a studio rather than in the stadium, and are gonna be done by a single announcer. So basically, the magic of having the combo of the color commentary and the narrator is gone. Personally, this is me, David, saying this. I think that continues to be a horrible decision to take MLS into this paywall, into a company that is more concerned about making money by having Messi in everything. I feel that is detrimental to the league and to the sport in our country, especially in a World Cup year. And it's never fun to see great professionals lose their job. They had layoffs in year two. Now they have layoffs again, and and the quality of the content that you're consuming is just not there like it used to be, and that's detrimental. I mean, I have never paid for the access to Apple because I'm a season ticket holder. But my heart goes out to the guys that paid $99 or whatever it is to consume this content, and then once they get used to something, now it's being taken away from them. But I'm gonna finish with this. I'm very partial to Sergio and Miguel. Obviously, they are one of our own. They're from our club. Sergio was the Spanish voice for Orlando City for uh, man 6 7 years easy, and Miguel. Well, we don't have to say anything about Miguel. Everybody knows who he is. Former player, color commentator, content creator, podcaster. The man has worn a ton of hats within the Orlando City organization. So in a way, I'm happy that they still can, work in football in the league. But we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what next year is going to bring. So I just, as a club, we are solidary. The podcast, I'm sorry, we're solidary with not only our friends but also the talent and the professionals that bring in great content because I have said it before. I'm bilingual, obviously, and if given the chance, I always choose the Spanish content because of the quality of the people that are there. So, Sergio and Miguel, we're happy that you're still around, and we hope that next year brings better things to talk about.
Yeah, I mean it's and anybody that's surprised. I think the only person that might be surprised is Messi and Don Garber that this is. Um, when like David said, you put it behind a paywall when it's traditionally, you know, been free, especially if you live in the local area, of a club. That's going to happen. I mean, even the best of the best isn't really behind a paywall. It's a streaming service, which MLS is changing to this year. It is a part of just Apple TV. Um, so you don't have to pay the $100 a month or whatever, or $100 a year, or whatever it is a month. If you have Apple TV, it'll be on there, which is a good change. Um, but I think Apple's realizing that they're not quite getting the deal they thought they were. Uh,
No.
they're starting to realize that they were, the whole thing about Messi being good for the league, it was a farce. The league's completely mishandled it. Messi's been Messi. He never really did press, never really did publicity. Um, and it stayed the same. And, as David would say, all you have is a bunch of third world farmers to watch Messi's highlights and then turning it off, and they're done with it.
Thank you for
So
saying it, brother.
I think
Because
that,
when I say it, they tell me that I'm a xenophobe and a racist. But we're pointing out the obvious facts.
yeah, I mean, you look at you. I mean, I told you guys before the show. I mean, it's so ridiculous how people now, how they follow two players that are at the end of their careers, Ronaldo and Messi. We were in Disney Springs yesterday and just wanted to stop in and see what Orlando City gear they had. Um, and right behind us was the Miami stuff. And one of the two employees were right next to the aisle. Probably a good thing they did, or I'd have covered every bit of Miami gear they had with Orlando City jerseys. Um, but the guy asks if we need help with anything, and I'm like, yeah, you guys could move so I can cover these jerseys up. And the other worker said, "Oh, you guys Ronaldo fans?" As we're looking at Orlando City gear. I said, "No, we're Orlando City gear." He goes, "Oh, they're rivals." I said, "Yeah, that's their closest."
It's
No. Oh my
they're
god.
in the same state, mate.
Yeah,
Wow.
and she had no idea. And it's just like the sport is so much bigger. Yes, those two, you know, 5, 10 years ago, and then they still do, some incredible things.
Do not care about.
But 5, 10 years ago were absolutely incredible. But it's like the sport's so much bigger than them,
Yeah.
and that's
Well,
what
that's
this league fails to realize is, the league's bigger than one player. You
yeah.
know,
They're a blip. Like if you think about it, what's to come in football? They're a blip.
Yeah, but you know what it is for the app for the non, which is ironic because you're at a store that's selling soccer gear. I
Yeah.
get that. That's the frustrating part. But for the average person who doesn't know, I have friends who knew nothing about MLS until, you know, the those who shall not be named down south signed him. And they're like, "Oh, he's gonna be playing." I'm like, "Do you even know what you're talking about?" So yeah. I mean, I get it. I
I,
get it. It's
I
just
don't.
all we can hope is that.
nobody has been gifted
Yeah.
the opportunities that Messi has been gifted his entire career.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. When he was at Barcelona, think about all the way back to 2000. What was it? 2012 when they played Chelsea in the Champions League. I referred to it because Atuesta did the same thing that Drogba did. It's a disgrace. Um,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
hand
the
gesture.
other one.
But
And that's not even going into the whole doping scandal that Barcelona found out Barcelona had during that time. That's just been swept under the rug.
yeah. Yeah. I think as far as like the Apple deal goes, I'm kind of I don't want to say I'm happy that it happened to them,
I am.
but I kind of am. Well, I am and I'm not because if it had worked out well, it could have gotten more exposure than it did. I feel like it
But
didn't
I
because
think
they were
what they
all
don't
about,
understand.
they were
So
all,
I think what they don't understand is that people in this country still the average fan anywhere does not know what this sport is and
exactly.
what it
And
is
they
like, and they think that if they grab the greatest player that's ever played the game, in my opinion, he's not even the best Argentinian player ever. Um, if they grab him and they put him in this league, that everyone's gonna grab a MLS club and say, "This is my club. This is my club." Whatever. They're all gonna go
and
because
that's
they all
what
just idolize one player. They
yeah.
don't have teams.
And
When you watch the games, guys,
but that's the lesson
people
they're learning.
when you watch the games, if people want to like cheer on Miami, they say Messi. They never say Inter
Yeah,
Miami or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's always Messi, Messi,
Listen,
Messi.
even
So
internationally,
Me and John,
United,
right,
me and John went to the Miami away game. Right, we
I
went to
wasn't there.
You weren't there, but me
No.
and somebody else went to the Miami away game. I think it was me and my mate. But we went there. I'm a more Miami fan. I helped them when they were in poverty. I remember when that stadium was empty. Nobody was there, right? In that stadium at that time. I helped a
yeah. But the point I was trying to make is that I feel like they meaning Apple
I just
TV and the MLS, um, they're learning that lesson in the way that's gonna get their attention the most in their pocketbook. Because Apple TV was not gonna cancel that deal unless they were losing money or unless it wasn't going the way they hoped. Right. So for them to do that, it was hurting them where it mattered. And I think whether it be the league or whether it be Apple TV, as much as it hurts, that's how you learn. And
I
they're
mean
not
they're paying for his salary.
Yeah.
And I have to say that yours truly watched Orlando City back in the YouTube era. Okay, that's how back in the day. That's how we used to watch it with Tom Traxler and Jeff Ratcliffe. You
Hmm.
know, shout out to the legends. That's how it used to be. It used to be like a camera, like some basically an intern holding a camera, watching our boys play in a high school stadium versus the it was the Dutch Lions. I can remember the Dayton Dutch Lions in a literally in a high school field. We watch our boys, and back in the day when the Orlando City players would jump on a coach or a bus and travel the southeast uh, from city to city. You know, back in the day when going on to visit our rivals in Charleston or in Richmond, Virginia. I mean, those were the days. So you know, if and those games, if you go back on YouTube, if you go back and you can find all our games from the USL era, they were well watched. So this idea of the paywall was horrific. And I remind you about this. I have a situation with two of my your overseas clubs. First of all, the Israeli premier has given up on the international fan. They don't care right now. It's almost impossible to watch the games. So I am down to watching highlights or the whole game on YouTube. Thank you very much for that. Who wants to watch a game where you already know the result? And then the EFL has the iFollow service, which with the currency exchange at the moment for $80 a season, I only get to watch one team and one team only for $180. But it's that or nothing. So if you love your
But that's a
team,
league, David. To kind of go to that. That's a league that's been around for over 100 years, or at least most of a lot of the teams.
yes,
So they have the following to be able to do that.
Yeah.
The league's barely a grown adult, in the grand scheme of things,
It's not even.
30
and we're
years.
trying to put it behind a paywall of $100 a month.
It's
Where
not
you
even.
really the first year, I will say, the first year the content they came out with Apple was awesome. Since then, it's been extremely lacking.
But even then,
Right.
like you could still get free games to watch your team, like if they're in the FA Cup or the League Cup or like
Yeah.
you know
I think it was
they're,
just the
they're
wrong
on they're
decision.
on national television.
Yeah, I think they just made the wrong decision, and all they saw were dollar signs, and it really wasn't that baked, and it depended a lot on that one person, and that's where it turned around to bite them in the butt. Because I think had they done it differently, it could have been, it could have unfolded a lot differently. But
Yeah.
that's what you get. You stick all your eggs in one basket. Guess what? You cracked a bunch of eggs.
And I mean, the thing I'll never get over is how insignificant people's lives must be to follow one player like
Yeah, I'll never understand that
God. And
Yeah,
particular.
but you know what? But that's even honestly, like I feel like even across overseas, you have it right. Like when I took my son to the Club World Cup game when Inter Miami, my club was playing Inter Miami. Nobody was cheering for Inter Miami when they came out. The only person they cheered for was Messi, and that's even my Egyptian fans were cheering for Messi when he was coming out, and we were playing against him.
What?
So you
For
have,
Zizo?
I get it. No,
Nobody
exactly,
was cheering for Zizo? Come on.
dude, they should have. They were, but you know what I mean. When he came out, he got their attention. So it's not so surprising. It's just here. It's the total extreme. It's like
well, I
there's
mean,
nobody else but him.
these people are so defensive over
Yes,
their
that's different.
opinion.
Hmm.
I mean, we post a video or something on social media that's about Orlando being against Miami, and you just see the comments come in, of you Messi this, Messi that. Find me somebody that wins a legitimate World Cup that doesn't have to score penalties every 2 minutes, and we may talk.
Talking about that, our favorite friend Lionel Messi is going to be playing this week in my hometown in Puerto Rico. Uh, Tickets starting at an affordable $450. when the medium wage in Puerto Rico right now is $30,000, so which is $20,000 below the mainland, which is 50. So I mean, again, the fact that they managed to find 3,000 people to pay $450. By the way, that's not the full capacity. I'm just talking about the $450 tickets. Um, but there's no money for everything else. I guess bills are not gonna get paid this month. Back in the island, so I don't know, man. God, all I
Well,
have
that,
to
that
say.
whole club, that whole club, it's gonna come, and we all know it came out when they first started that they had actually like 5 or 6 DPs, but it came out afterwards, so then they got sanctioned. We know here in a year or two, once they all leave and Miami's in last place consistently like they were before Barcelona decided to retire in Fort Lauderdale, that it's going to come out. Oh no, Miami actually, the Mexican striker they signed in 2026 that was labeled as a DP. Miami didn't have a DP, or no, I keep saying Di Maria, the midfielder that they brought in last year.
The Paul.
Yeah, DePaul. His loan was improperly financed, and he should have taken up more of the salary cap because there actually was a transfer fee on it. Or the dude that they signed off of a loan that either they gave a $200,000 um, wage decrease to that set the playoff record for most goals scored in a single playoff last season. Make that make sense. He actually should have been a DP because the TAM they didn't properly report his salary. We know at least one, if not all of those things are going to come out when even the talking heads, when even Tom Bogert is saying, I question how this happens, and he is one of the more fair journalists along with Fabian that's out there when it comes to handling Miami. But when he goes on a national podcast, he was on the podcast with Tim Howard and Landon Donovan, and he's questioning how they're getting these deals done. There's a problem. Brian Weeby, I used to have a high amount of respect for Brian Weeby until, you know, this past summer, especially this offseason, where he says, in 30 years, no MLS team has been able to figure out to do what Miami does. But the magically Miami's making all these deals and has the most expensive team based off of their uh, transfer value on transfer mark. It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
I have a theory, but I don't want to say it because
yeah.
I might
Well,
get.
to bring it home, we had some news about signings and a tragic situation with a
Oh,
target for Orlando City. Um, let's go to that. I'm gonna preface this by saying, when Gaston Gonzalez was purchased, okay, he was purchased for $2.5 million, money that we never saw because he gets hurt basically as his sub is on the sidelines to come in. We paid. We were true to our word to sign the player. We signed him. We paid for his surgery. We sent a physio to stay with him a month in Argentina. So we're paying, his hotel, his diet, his wages, his flight there and back. Then we bring Gaston to the U.S. for rehab. That first year, he collected his wages. He did nothing for us. Second year, ta-da! We find out that the player that we purchased is not him. And on third year, we send him on loan to Uruguay's Nacional, and we let him go on a free. Basically, we probably lost about $4 million in that deal. So I have to say that the situation with this player, you guys remind me here. I'm looking at the
I
the
believe
name of
it's
the fella.
Stojanovic. but
You
I
know,
could.
when they signed that, when they announced that, that was the first thing I thought of. What happened with Gaston? Do you think that they had a clause in the contract now ever since that happened?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, I
Yeah.
Well,
bet
he was
you
never.
money.
So he was never officially signed.
Oh,
No, no,
okay.
It was
it was basically he already passed his medical, and they were just waiting on the the money transactions or whatever, the ITC certificate and all that, and the guy gets hurt during practice. Practice. We're
I
talking about
that.
practice. I mean,
It's called the Gaston clause. I'm just kidding.
yeah. Yeah,
I
but
really, we've done well recently, but wow, we have lost a lot of money on signings. Like 4 million on like Gaston Gonzalez, and then we've lost a ton on Muriel, and then like
Yeah, but
these
they're
owners,
making it all up.
these owners
They're
must
making
have
it
money
all
to
up.
burn.
Well,
They-
I'm
they-
just happy that we did. You know, um, he did that we didn't follow through with it, and our friend David, who by the way will be joining us on this week's episode of Extra Time,
yeah, go ahead and put a yeah. There you go,
I
brother.
was about to say, so I want to give him credit for it too because he said it before I was able to say it. That Stojanovic didn't even do his final physical yet. He was a day away from it, and he did one last training session before he was going to do it, and that's when he received
Wow.
we dodged the bullet.
it out. Yeah,
We sure did, brother. I mean, I feel for him and for that team, Polish team that was gonna make bank. But the truth is, and I believe our good friend Jim D said it on a
yeah.
comment before David that it's and I'll read it. I like that OC is the nice club, quote unquote. But sometimes I think the front office needs to be more selfish and do what's best for the club, not individual players. And you know what? I agree 1,000%. I know Ricardo did right by Gaston's family. Mind you, and I was privy to a lot of information about what happened with that, because the beat writer for Unión de Santa Fe contacted me, and when I was in the other podcast, we brought the guy on, and he told his story. Listen, Gaston and his family were living in a one-bedroom home. His dad is a mailman. Mom works for like city hall as a clerk. This family, like, this was it. This was like like life changing opportunity, and great. Orlando City did great by the player, but how did that work out for us? You know what I mean? So I'm with Jim on that one. Sometimes we gotta be ruthless, because if it was any other club, hey, tough cookies. What? Grandma died and your dog choked on a bone. Tough. We're here to lift trophies, and sometimes you gotta be like that. And at some point we gotta thank our lucky stars. We dodged a bullet. How we got this kid, and then he would have gone hurt. Everybody remembers Pato. We signed him, and he got hurt on the first freaking game. Or how Kaká got hurt on his
I
last year,
mean,
12
it was.
minutes to the game.
I always make a joke about Pato, and I said he had the highest hourly wage in the history of football because he played 60 minutes and he got injured for the rest of the season. I'm like, he's got the highest hourly wage in the United States. He only had to work for 1 hour, and yet he got all that money.
No
But
kidding.
the thing about Pato though that a lot of people when they
I don't know.
talk about him being in Orlando City don't say is he had a lot to do with our 2021 Open Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, he sure did. He got hurt against Red Bulls, but it was in our regular season game.
Yeah,
That not happened, and the thing about Pato is that, man, like, you touched him the wrong way, bro, and he was gone for weeks. I
It
mean,
was a,
the man's knees are made out of glass.
in England, you'd call him a glass house because he's as fragile as
Good
anything.
understatement on that. But I gotta tell you, I want people that are healthy. We already starting the season with some bad news. Jansen is recuperating from an injury, that knock that he picked at the end of last season. So, to be honest with you, I think this may be his last year with us, because father time, like we said in this show time and time again. Father Time is undefeated. So, and a center back on top of that, a position that obviously Fabian talked about it. It's hard to get, and I don't want to get my blood pressure up by talking about how I disagree with letting go of Thomas Williams, but that's a story for another day. So at this point, we just gotta get people
We have
that want to
one
play.
center, but we have one center back on our roster with MLS minutes, and that's Brecalo.
And, and,
He
and guess
wasn't even,
what?
he wasn't
He
even
played out of position all of last
Yeah.
year.
he wasn't even playing centre back.
No, he was left back. He was playing out of position. But with that being said, we did. Everybody will remember or has seen on social media before the Stojanovic transfer rumor came about. We were involved in a rumor with a 21-year-old Brazilian that goes by the name Lago. Talks had kind of stalled out between Orlando City and him. But with everything that happened in the last 24 hours, it looks like talks are back on. And according to Brazilian media outlets, it looks like that it is very, very close to being finalized. Um, so reinforcements could be on the way. Like Fabian said, I would expect us to pick somebody up on the cheap, in the coming days to fill to have a little bit of depth, have a third center back. You have to have at least one center back that can come off the bench, you know, because of yellow cards or what have you, just to do it. So Lago seems to be a promising player. I believe he captained the Brazil U20s in the last U20 World Cup, playing for Flamengo's first team quite a bit. He's been on the bench the last couple matches. Speculations have been all that's to keep him healthy for the Orlando City transfer. Um, we'll see if that transfer crosses the line here in hopefully the next couple days. And
Underrated signing, John, if it happens. Underrated. I believe that we are. By the way, if we do, we're only getting 50% of that player to get him as cheap as we're getting him. But either way, if he pans out like some people in Brazil are talking about that, how he expects him to explode over here, we may have a legend in our hands.
yes,
I want to remind everybody. Remember that we one point had a young Leo Pereira on loan here in Orlando. We butchered that under Jason Christ, only to send him back to Brazil and see him become a champion. And every time I hear news about Leo Pereira, I just get so angry because we had that kid here in 2017, and we just did not know what to do. And
Did we?
unfortunately, here in Orlando, we have a history of having great players that where we fumble the bag and we see him flourish somewhere else.
Didn't we have him? Didn't we have him? Didn't he play in the Club World Cup for Flamengo? Am I right in saying
Leo
that?
Pereira, yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing him, and I'm like, is that the same guy that played for OCB? And I'm like,
Yes,
where
sir.
did this come from?
Yeah, but by the way, Leo
speaking of
Pereira.
guys that played for OCB, there's two John Solises out there. Same spelling, same exact last.
Yeah,
Two different ones. One's playing for, I believe he just signed to a championship deal or a Premier League deal in England. That's not the one that played for us. The one that played for us, I believe, is still playing in South America. So I made that mistake
Right.
in our group chat. I'm like, guys, look what we fumbled, and then did
No, no.
and then
Trust
it's
me.
like a different guy.
There's also a Nico Rodriguez in Colombia, and Inter Miami was playing them, and I was like, oh my God, Nico's it's giving it to them, and it turned out to be a total different guy. Common names, I guess, throughout the world. I
I
mean,
thought it was the same because I thought I saw because I follow Nico on Instagram, and I thought I saw him post pictures saying like "what a night" or something like that, and
really.
yeah,
Oh, if
yeah, no, that's the same. That's the same Nico. That's yeah.
Is the same Nico? No kidding.
It's the same. It's the same guy. It's the guy that we loaned him to the club that just played Messi,
Interesting.
a couple days ago.
I have one of his signed jerseys, Nico Rodriguez, and I was just watching the highlights on YouTube, and I heard his name, and I'm like, oh, is it the same guy? You know, but evidently it is.
He's a player. Luke can attest to this. That I was very excited to see play because you saw his highlights from his former club, and then he shows up, and all of a sudden his foot turned into a brick wall, not in a negative form because he's an attacker. Couldn't get the ball to settle to his feet to save his life in a match. But we did see it once he did. It was magic. It was just the fact of, he wasn't quite ready for this level of play, and it looks like, even though it's just a loan and eventually, he'll be back. I don't think that we're looking to further his time with Orlando City. That he'll either be a free agent or the club that he's loaned to will pick up his.
If history it repeats itself as it has been the last 11 seasons in MLS, by May 31st, we should know what our future should be. Traditionally, May 31st already tells us if by June 1st you are not in playoff position, you're not making the playoffs. That we have broken that rule last year. But do
Yeah,
we?
I'd say you're being a bit harsh. I'd say probably yeah,
And we
June.
we broke that trend 2 years ago, David. Remember, we broke that trend. We were
Right,
out of
right.
playoff position, and then
Yeah, June 1st be playoff position, and then 50. But see, this is the thing. Last year we broke the 50 points that supposedly guarantees you a playoff spot, and then the situation of being on playoff position by June 1st, and and we fumbled the bag.
yeah, I mean, it's like Fabian said. The East is such a just stronger division than the West. That it'll be interesting to see what happens this year because we equaled our number of points from two full seasons ago from 23 where we finished second in the East and we end the season last year with the same number of points and our eighth or ninth or whatever we ended at ninth. So it's interesting to see. And the thing that I found interesting that Fabian said that we had alluded to, and other Orlando City podcasts want to act like everything's good and they're happy with the way things are going. Even Fabian, a national writer, said he doesn't think Poppy makes it out of the first part of the season.
That'll
We
be
said,
interesting, man.
we said
That'll
it's going
be
to be a long season. Other supporters, other fans have said it's going to be a long season, and a national. And we didn't set that up. Fabian joined us 5 minutes before we started. Kind of told him, "Hey, we're going to have you on the backstage when we intro, and then you're going to come on and do your thing." So let's hopefully he's wrong and hopefully we're wrong because we want this team to do well and flourish and win championships and all of that. But I haven't seen it be this rough for ever. Ever.
No, and again, this year's a mystery. The boys just came back from Cancun this past weekend. They're gonna have more friendlies. Believe they are going to going down to ING. They're gonna be going down to South Florida, and then after that, obviously the 14th. And if you correct me if I'm wrong, it's not next Saturday. Is the one after, or is next Saturday, the 14th? Well, let me look at the calendar. Yes. So not this Saturday. The next Saturday, the 14th. We're gonna get the chance to take a look at the new and improved Orlando City. And I'm gonna be honest with you. This fan base is at least the people that care about the football and that pay with their hard-earned money to watch this team. Uh, in years past, people go very open-minded. Um, I think last year losing our first game of the season was a surprise. But when you see how Philadelphia ended, not so much. But last year, I think for us, um, it was we were very erratic, something that we had not seen under Oscar Pereja at the beginning of the season. We were very either consistently good or consistently mediocre, but we were truly inconsistent to the point where I believe we lost 4 or 5 games, home games in a row. You guys remember that? Um,
Try not to, but yeah.
yeah, I know. The,
Unfortunately, I do.
yeah, the reality is that
We didn't win. We dropped points 4 or 5 in a
no,
row.
we drop points. Thank you, John. So for me, the why this season is so monumental is because it's the last time we're gonna have to be dealing with the heat of the summer, the rain, and all these other things that some people blame on our woes, if you will. And also because next year it's going. By the way, we have that break for the World Cup on top of that this year. So we're gonna have to get hot before that break happens, and then when we take over after the World Cup, we're gonna have to just continue with that flame. And unfortunately, we have failed to do that in years past, where we have taken breaks for Leagues Cup, et cetera, and then we come back and those guys have been kidnapped. You know what I mean? Nobody knows where they are. And last year was so disappointing the way things ended. So disappointing. I mean, going to lose in Toronto, a team that was eliminated, that was playing for nothing, and then we come to go to Chicago and lay an egg like that. Uh, God, I don't even know how to describe the end of that season.
Yeah, I mean the nice thing is that I guess nice thing you can look at it. I mean, if we do get hot before the World Cup break, this is the longest World Cup break the MLS has ever taken. In years past, and this was before I really started to pay attention to the MLS. I do recall the MLS actually playing during the World Cup, the later stages of the World Cup. There being MLS matches on. Um, so it is I believe the longest break we've ever taken for a World Cup. Um, I want to see us, kind of go into the break in a playoff position. Get that big DP signing that Fabian was alluding to, because he's right, and it's looking more and more like the club's going to wait until the summer window to get somebody. You'll be able to get them cheaper. At that point, they'll be more willing to come to the MLS because of the changes that are being made for the
Contracts expire as well at the end of the
yes,
season.
and contracts expire. So there's going to be a lot of movement with our club, adding potentially adding players of quality after the World Cup, and I'm looking for us to come out of that World Cup break on fire. Um, because everybody will be fresh. I mean, every other team's players will be fresh at that time too. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, right now, currently, I'm just double checking it, making sure I didn't miss any transfers that happened. Um, yeah, right now we have 22 players, no, 21 players under first team contracts. Uh, that's very little. We're allowed up to, I think it's 30.
Listen, I know a lot of people, especially on Facebook, are going bonkers about our club situation, the roster. I want to remind everybody that people that work for the club are more aware of the situation than we are. They make a living doing this, and I assure you that we're gonna have a full roster come home opener. It
We can
has
only
to.
hope.
I don't understand. To me, it's funny when people are like, "Do these people know when the season?" Of course, they know. They know when the season starts. I don't understand the panicking that we have every year. By the way, the window just closed in England, in most of Europe,
Jenny.
uh, today. So people, our window's still way open. So
Yeah.
we just
Open
gotta
for
let.
what, month and a half almost.
Yes, we have to let the powers to be. To me, the concern is: do we replace Muriel in this window, or do we wait till the summer?
It's looking more and more, and especially
Don't
with
even.
the opening game being 19 days away, it looks like it'll be in the summer because we
I
don't want
don't even know what to do with Muriel, like, or with that spot. Like, what? That is the biggest debate of all time. Like, what do you do?
Well, I
Because
think it's interesting. Sorry, Luke, that
go ahead.
when Ricardo was interviewed, and thanks to David for sharing this. Not David Valentin, the other David. Um, that Ricardo basically alluded to that it was not necessarily going to be a striker. So I'm wondering, like I kind of brought up last week, I don't remember if it was on this show or on Extra Time. I wonder if they're going to play Ojeda in more of a, 9/false 9 role, and bring in a more true attacking mid.
Yeah,
We gotta bring people that score goals. The fact, because it's still on my feed, seeing Ramiro Enrique being one of the top goal scorers in Saudi Arabia just makes me sick to my stomach.
yeah, but
My biggest worry is still the
he got back.
defensive players. Because right now, I have the depth chart pulled up. Senior team contracts. Left back we have Marin and Reed Brown. Left center back we have Janssen. Right center back we have Brekalo. Right back we have Taifi.
Look at this, thin as anything.
And that's where we've kind of been that at a luxury in years past, where especially at center back we had minimum two players and that in each left and right to as a backup, minimum one each.
Yeah. Well, you've got Spicer who could play left wing back.
Yeah, but that means we need three center backs.
Exactly.
I mean, unless here's an idea, because it happened before in a crunch. Maybe they're planning on putting Cartagena
Oh
um,
no.
back as a center back because he's played that position before. With Janssen being out. That's my only speculation is that maybe they're going to drop Cartagena back. Um, you know,
I hope that's not the case.
To go on a tangent, unrelated to this, does anybody know when the jersey reveal will happen?
it's on the club site. It's one of the
Event.
things. It's gonna one of the events that's gonna happen at the what do they call it? The final whistle,
Final whistle. In is it Thornton Park?
Thornton Park. Yep.
Yeah. By the way, what an odd place. I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm gonna go. Thank you, David. February 10th. Appreciate that, brother. Uh, what an odd place to have a football centric place. I'm gonna go check it out. Love
Good
the
luck finding
decor.
parking. Thornton Park's parking is terrible.
Oh, dude, listen, I live in the area, so I can tell you that. With man, but I love the decor. I love hopefully people will support it. I plan to go to the event. I never been. I wish I had gone to the one where we announced the one with the USL logo, because there were so many legendary former Orlando City players there. I would have loved that. I'm a sucker
That
for that.
wasn't even like that. That's a nightclub, basically, from what I understand. A nightclub that
Final
closed.
Whistle is
What's that?
Final Whistle is a nightclub.
No, no, no. The place that we had the jersey reveal for
Oh yeah, okay.
the Heritage Kit. Um, that they were able to rent the venue out because the venue still keeps it, keeps it up. Um, but it wasn't like a legitimate bar. The bar that we did have was right down Church Street. It ended up closing down during COVID. It was pretty neat. If you guys ever went there,
No, I didn't.
Which one?
you were too young. We had the what they I forget what they called it. Um, but it was right. It was right down the stadium, just on the other side of the.
Harry Buffalo.
No, on the other. It was down by Harry Buffalo. It was right. It was just on the other side of that.
Oh, that's right. There was
Yeah,
like a football theme, Orlando City theme, and yeah, it was on Church Street.
Lions Pride or something
Yeah,
like.
that lasted nothing. By the way, is the Orlando City bar at the airport still open?
I don't think Lions. Then thank you, Misael. Misael's contributing. He said the bar is a pop up bar. It changes themes every few months. It's only the final whistle until the end of March. And then he
Bro,
said
really?
that the bar was called
Bro,
Lions.
so disappointed. I thought it was like, oh, that's my joint. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
watch
no.
football there. Ah, okay. Well, what are you gonna do? But no, yeah. Listen. Every time I'm not because of Ivy. I'm not flying as I used to. But these guys that know me for years. I mean, I've been racking up the miles. And one of the things that used to anger me is the fact that the Orlando City bar is in the outside. Like if when I get to the airport, I just want to go through TSA as soon as possible. Maybe they had it inside. I will be more inclined to go eat and have a beer, catch a little bit of football while I wait for my flight. Not outside. I don't. Nobody's gonna hang out outside and then try to go through TSA. It's insane.
Yes, it
No.
shows City Pub is still there. I just looked it up.
Yeah, but it's just the wrong location. And by the way, I had mentioned that to Jared when he came in, and like there was people at the club that are like, oh, we have a bar at the Orlando City bar at the airport, and I like, who authorized this? I don't know. I just there's three things that I would love to see around our stadium. By the way, what I'm about to tell you, it's in the plans already. So I'm not, I'm not letting the cat out of the bag. I would love to see places for us to like have a beer and hang out that are not like 50 blocks away from the stadium. Number one, and number two, I would love to see for us to have a museum to encase all this history that we have. How we had racked in our very very short history. So I just like I said, I see what happens overseas, and I'm like, God, please, that I have enough life to see it flourish here. Um,
I like
but
what they have in the stadium by the West Club.
Yeah, they got the vault, they call it. They got the vault
Yeah,
with the
which I
trophies
mean,
and
with
everything.
again, our club still being, barely 15 years old.
Well, I mean, yeah, yeah.
Hard to open a full scale museum when a club's only 15 years old. Now, with that being said, I think it'd be nice
Bro,
if
we
they
got moments, man. The
got
running
into
of the
ball.
wall, the running of the wall, the winning the Open Cup. The in Leagues Cup last year, we made history like beating two Mexican giants. There's a lot there, in my opinion, that
There's,
that that we
there's,
can that we can put in there at the moment. But I was gonna, oh God, I was gonna. Oh, by the way, now that we were talking about the vault, there's one trophy that Orlando City won that is not in the vault.
what, the
Are you
Orlando
guessing?
City Invitational?
There you go, Luke. The Orlando City Invitational. I don't know what happened to that. I guess personally, we shouldn't be embarrassed. We hosted a tournament that all the teams that were invited could have won, and we just happened to win it. And for some reason, we have been like beaten to because if New York City or Minnesota would have won that championship, they would have probably displayed it. I don't understand why we have to, like be embarrassed by it.
No, I am.
You are.
I'm embarrassed by it. I think it's a bit ridiculous. Whatever. I don't know what we were trying to do with that, but you know.
But yeah, I
What,
mean, I agree that around it'll be nice when they do break ground around the stadium and start and building some more businesses around the stadium that will be open for game days. I just the museum
It's
would be
broken.
awesome. I just think it's something that is still further down the road that you can kind of all fit on, right there by the West Club, extend the vault a little because there's nothing around the vault except for a wall, if I recall correctly. The street.
With the collage, I submitted a picture for that.
Yeah,
That
well, I mean the collage is there, but that can be moved elsewhere from
Yeah, yeah, no, for
where that
sure.
was.
I know that the club announced that this year that they're coming out with a lot of upgrades for certain sections. You know,
Mainly the prawn and cocktail brigade sections, but yeah.
right? They're adding fans to so like fans to not fans like yeah. I'm talking about like the ones that spin and expel air. I've been a big proponent. I'm like, why can't we have ventilation in our stadium? Maybe maybe they're like, well, since we're not gonna be playing in the summer anymore, it's not a big deal. But God, they're doing a lot of cool things.
Cincinnati has so Cincinnati's a little more their stadium, TQL Stadium's a little more enclosed than our stadium is, but they have those giant whatever they're called
They're the
super
biggest
fans.
fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their
By the way,
stadium.
that's the brand. That's the company's
yeah,
name. Big
that's
Ass
literally
Fan.
the brand.
Big Ass Fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, and they're fantastic, man. I mean, those things will like keep you cool. I just never understood why in Florida we at least like put some of those sprayers that they have at Disney. They just spray water on people. I mean, because it's brutal, man. Sometimes in the summer it's just brutal. I mean, I had
I mean, you
six
do have to
games.
hand it to the club. That happened late last season. Um, that the rain delay happened. And they're already fixing it, between seasons. And then think, 2 years ago, on this podcast, we said, why don't we have TVs and, under the seats and everything. So if it's halftime, when we're late coming back, we can see what's going on in the match or whatever. And, it was in season they added those, if I recall correctly. Um, so, the club is very responsive to kind of they have so much going on and only so much time, but they are very responsive when the
Right,
when
we
the
we got big
supporters say,
critics
"Why
are
don't we have this?" And it's something that makes
some.
perfect sense.
No, but in all honesty, the club tries to do right by us, and I appreciate that. One of the things, one big criticism that I have is the stadium was built so Spartan like. That the truth is that some of the limitations of the structure itself create some of the problems that we have. The leaks, the obstructive view of the screen. People keep complaining about this the rotating lion. I just don't think that is ever going to happen. But there's a lot of limitations to the stadium because our original owners really wanted to save a buck. A lot of people are like, oh well, these new stadiums they're better. Well, maybe because they have the money to invest. And with that said, honest
They're
question.
new stadiums. I mean, you can say that about every new stadium. I mean,
Oh
when
yeah, yeah, for sure.
going with baseball, you look at the Red Stadium that opened in 2001, and it was one of the best stadiums in Major League Baseball because it was the newest. I mean, every year a new stadium, seems to open in Major League Baseball and definitely in the MLS. And every year that new stadium is going to be a little bit better. And now this is what our ninth season, ninth season in our stadium,
Hmm.
and of course there's going to be, we're the better part of the stadium is the better part of a decade old. Of course there's going to be
Yeah. Our stadium is 9 years old at this
better
point.
than ours, but you know what our stadium has that other stadiums don't?
Character.
Character.
There you
Every
go.
stadium, if you look at Orlando City Stadium and how it was built, you look at Nashville Stadium.
It's a
Basically, it's
carbon
built
copy of ours.
carbon copy of ours.
Yep.
You look at
Yep.
yeah, I mean every stadium that's came after ours, virtually at least pieces of it are copies of ours. Cincinnati's
And ours is in a neighborhood. It's in a living, breathing neighborhood, and there's plans. So you just so you know, there's plans to transform the buildings around the stadium as a mix of residential and commercial.
yeah, it'll be
Uh,
the first floors, the commercial buildings, restaurants, and then
Correct.
stores and stuff, and the floors
There's
above
gonna be
it.
something else, brother, on game day. Forget
Yeah.
about it. It's gonna be awesome. We got coming here by Misael. I would like another jumbotron added and the roof extended to cover every fan in their seats. From your mouth to God's ears, my friend. That's something that has been said by many, many, many fans. I mean, our stadium has some limitations, but I gotta tell you what makes our stadium great is the access to the pitch. I have friends from England uh, come to watch Orlando City, and every single time they tell me it's like back home. You're like right there. You
Yeah.
can touch the player, you can see it, and that's because credit to Adrian Heath. The stadium is designed like the stadiums were in England before World War I. Small, intimate venues. I mean, intimate venue for a 25,000 seat stadium. You know, it's pushing it, but I mean, we have incredible views. It's a beautiful place. Our grounds. I gotta tell you guys, I can't wait for next Saturday. Now I'm really, really excited talking about this. I've been watching my teams overseas, and all that has done is just light the fire for me to once again be under the floodlights in Paramore.
Well, and
So
Fabian said it earlier, David, that I had never really thought of. Like my favorite thing when the season starts is Saturday mornings, wake up, watch whatever European matches on. Watch the second, the later matches that are on. Go tailgate and then go to our match. We're going to be able to do that all season now.
yes, sir. That is correct. That is correct. So I'm excited about that. Well, guys, we're coming to an end. Unfortunately, uh, Ahmed had a situation with his computer, so he was unable to remain with us for the rest. It appears that every week somebody's having some sort of issue. That's technology for you. Luke, final words before we say goodbye.
Wow. It's going to be a very interesting season, that's to say the least.
For sure. Are you gonna be at the stadium on the 14th?
I should be.
Oh,
On the
The season
14th.
ticket, the preseason.
yeah, the
Oh,
preseason.
probably not. No, I don't
Okay.
think I will.
That's right, because you got to be selective about. 'Cause, I mean, that's a brutal 3.5 hour drive for you, right?
It's nothing to me now. No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
No, I hear you, brother. Like with me, there was a point where I covered Central North Florida and Southern Georgia, and some days I will just drive to Savannah, do my work, and drive back the same day. And people are like, "Oh, that's insane. That's like really far. That's almost South Carolina." I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
when you drive far, yeah, you get used to it. I hear you, my brother. John, any final words before we say goodbye?
I just want to see our team win.
Yeah,
As
same
you
here.
say, I've never been like I'm looking forward to the season beginning. I can't wait to be back in the stadium. But at the same time, I've never went into a season feeling, so hopeless, essentially, because I have our spreadsheet with the depth chart on it for each position, and I'm just looking at it, and it's bare. It's not even that the talent's not there. It's just a bare sheet. We have one striker, one center attacking mid, only two center backs, only three fullbacks. That's over half the positions on the field on the pitch that we don't have substitutes for.
Depth.
I hear you, my brother. I hear you. Well, before we go, I would like to uh, mention that our fellow podcaster, Orlando City supporter and friend, Alex Brown, is expecting a second baby. So, from us to our friends at Orlando Lions, then we just want to send a big hug and congratulations to Alex and his wife. And, well done, sir. You have done it. You're gonna back to sleepless nights and crying babies. If you ask me, 1 to 2 years old is the worst time when having a baby. After that, it's just like a lot of fun. Like I gotta tell you, this past week, to go on a tangent, a little part of me died off in our congregation at the end of the service. They asked the children to go to the front to do the Aaronic benediction over them, and my son was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna go, Dad. I'm 18 now." I was like, "Ah, sweet Lord, I lost my son, my baby." But I still have another one, as you can hear, so I'll be okay. But that's just part of it. So Alex, many blessings to you, my friend. Well, I want to thank everybody that watched us live. Everybody's gonna be watching this later on and is gonna listen to us. Reminding everybody, I screwed up last week. I posted the extra with this show. So extra is on Wednesdays. Wednesdays, be on the lookout for the audio version and the video for the in 90 minutes extra. So as of right
Extra
now,
time, extra time, David.
extra time. Thank you, my brother. Extra time. So we on this next episode, we're gonna have David as our guest, not me, the other David. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. I looked at the numbers. I was very surprised about extra doing so well. I was like, oh, okay, there's a market for this. So that was John's idea, his baby. So go ahead and support him. And I guess John, I'll do the outro if you help me with the video at the end.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go, my friends. Thank you very much. Sending our love to you guys. We'll be here next Monday, 9 p.m. to talk about the preview for our preseason game that is going to be available to season ticket members or friends of the season ticket members, and and you're getting ready for the beginning of the season. Hopefully, we'll have some news. There's always still stuff going out there. So we say goodbye to you the only way we know how, by reminding everybody that football is cruel and unpredictable. Football is played on grass, not on paper. Football is a pound of talent and an ounce of luck. And if you have not cried for joy or anger over football, have you really football? From Ahmed, myself, John, Luke, and our guest tonight, Fabian, may God bless you. And as always, vamos, Orlando!